and the reality that they are living in this new era, this new generation, is all about me, and the word and the term is instant gratification, which is very damaging to these young men who are now coming up.
Wait. Dream it, believe it, become it. Come on, spend the ranking. You know what to say.
Come on down.
We're back in the building. Listen, the energy
Every week.
Bro, it don't stop. It don't stop.
Come on, man.
Can't stop, won't stop.
You're like gold, man.
I'm looking like P. Tiddy. Not P. Tiddy, no, P. Tiddy. But yeah, but today, sorry, I should stop saying bro. It's not politically correct.
And big up CBK.
What's that mean?
Cocoa Butter Kid.
No.
God shine.
And that brings me on to
Listen, if we're going to speak boxing, we have to speak to the man.
Oh no! So that gives you an insight into who we got for the. Oh no! Wait. Yeah, with the. You know with the foot. And the shrimp starts back there.
Take your liberties.
And the banging of the glove.
I used to get it down peck on me.
Yeah. Tonight, bruv, you know, if you've noticed, I don't even need to say, have you got him in the black book? Because it's just irrelevant now.
You know what you have to say now, innit?
Where is the John book?
Okay.
Where's the John Wick?
All right, done. Argument done.
Come on.
Get Chris Eubank on the line.
Good evening, sir. I don't know what time it is over there. Where are you? Louisiana, as I've heard.
I'm in Louisiana. I've
10 past
I've
2.
just come back from the office,
Okay. Well,
the marshal's office, and we're preparing to go to Texas.
well,
So we're traveling, and we are moving, and we are in prayer, and we're in our wishing mode,
yes, sir.
and we're good.
Well, can I just say this? It is an absolute honor, a pleasure to be speaking to you. I mean, after all these years, you know those situations where someone's right in front of you, but you never meet. That's how I feel like with you. And I had this particular moment set out for you. Hold on, wait. This is for you, Chris. Right now, I know that you're dancing. You're dancing wherever you are. I don't know if it's the office, your living room. Right now, I took you back a few years there, Chris.
Well, the truth is, my spirit may be indeed dancing, but my body is still. I'm concentrating on you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, man. I mean, my dad is not gonna believe this. This is how much of a legend you are to me and my family. My dad.
Wow.
My father. And let me tell you something. You're a Dulwich man. Do you know that I was born and brought up in Wheatland House in Dockenham Hill Estate. One estate where your father and your brothers reside. I don't know if
our family there still.
I don't know. Yeah, because I think it was Peter done some electrical work for my dad the other day. So look at you. Call this serendipity. Call this happening. Call this energy meeting. This is incredible. Right. You couldn't even write this. You know. And
right. Well.
I mean, listen, I got to do it again. I go wait. I got to do it again, Chris. And then to follow on from that,
we know if we was to look at your we know if we was to look at your career, and when you first started out in America, you had 5 fights in America.
Yes.
And I remember when you came back over to the UK. And I don't know who it was, what manager But I remember Eubank was on TV, said, somebody offered me a contract on chip paper. Like, Liberty.
No, that was...
okay.
That was the late Mickey Duff.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, God rest his soul. And, keep in mind that it's this type that taught me, along with the other current promoters. There was a promoter called Mike Barrett. There was Jarvis Astaire, and all of these, great characters. I learned from, but the way in which they taught us was the hard way. And so, with the lessons we've learned, we pass them back to this generation to keep them, I suppose, in a better position.
Yes.
That of which means to say that effectively, we want them not to actually go through what I was taught the hard way. So effectively, my knowledge or my experience or my insights, will guide them to actually having a career which is not so damaging if they take heed of the advice garnered by those who have come before them.
Brilliant point. I mean, you had an illustrious career, 13 years spanning, middleweight, super middleweight, and finally, I think closing your career at cruiserweight. What would you say is the highlight of that illustrious career? Or I guess there's a number of highlights, but one that really stands out in your mind.
Well, we have to say Nigel Benn, because that was, let me put it to you this way. I had 19 of 24 World Championship wins. So those 19 World Championship wins were consecutive. Now, this may sound cruel to myself, but, try and hear the point. You can discard 17 of those World Championship wins, but there were two, the Nigel Benn and the Michael Watson two. I would ask you to concentrate on those two, because those two I couldn't win, and I did.
That is hold on, wait there.
Yes,
because listen, man, I'm telling you, I've been telling people this: in defeat lies the biggest lesson, and I want you to touch on this more, Chris, please. This is education for us, the listening fans, for the young fighters coming up. Listen to the one and only Chris Eubanks. Come on, Chris.
Well, so, these, these perceptions of which, again, are, insightful views born of those experiences. I don't even know whether it's the right thing to actually speak on them, because it's lost on most, because it's not their reality.
Oh, come on.
And the reality that they are living in this new era, this new generation, is all about me, and the word and the term is instant gratification, which is very 100%. Damaging to these young men who are now coming up.
Wait, Chris. Listen, I just took you back to the dance hall.
Scripture, come on, brother Chris.
Listen, man. Listen, this is Christopher Eubanks in church.
Yes.
Come on. Tell him, Chris.
I will. Okay. So when we talk about instant gratification, we talk about everybody wants everything now. This is an art, a craft, and a way of life that you can't jump you can't skip. There's no shortcuts through this.
Yes.
If you don't learn your art, which takes, it took me 7 years to learn the art,
Excellent.
build my record, and actually contend for a world championship now.
Yes.
There is no shortcutting it. If you do, then effectively, this is what may happen to you. You may be put into a position where you are a champion without having gone through the entire schooling aspect of boxing. So let's say now you're in university with effectively a world championship. If you have been made to skip college, you will pay a very heavy price. Okay, so let me tell you about that heavy price. It's not the loss that you will lose to someone who's actually gone through this schooling system. It's more the fact that you'll have the masses looking up to you as a superstar.
Yes.
But then when you're in university or when you're with fighters who have gone through the whole boxing experience and education, they will beat you. And the public will not allow you to keep on losing if they are thinking of you as a superstar or the example or the benchmark.
Yes.
You see?
Wouldn't you say that the fact that there is so much money in the sport today, more so than when you was participating, don't you think that has an effect on fighters, managers? I wouldn't say the fighters, because, I think the fighters are born of something whereby they just want to fight, and it's down to the handlers and carers to take care of these young men. But wouldn't you say that money plays an important factor in a lot of decision making nowadays?
Well, it's what unfortunately fooling the fighters, or the money aspect is being put in front of the fighters learning their craft. They are being fast tracked. And when they're fast-tracked, effectively, it damages them, and it actually it robs us, the boxing fans who love to see great fighters produced. It robs us of having great fighters because they're fast-tracked, and so they're spoiled. You can't pick an apple when it is green. Let it ripen. Let it ripen before you pick it, or before you put it out to pasture, if you will. Do you see?
This is so interesting.
No, you don't see. Okay.
Absolutely. I see this as clear as day, and it's almost as though taking an exam and not revising. That's your point, and it's very clear.
Okay, let me be clearer. Imagine a man has 16 fights. Yes. Effectively, back in the 90s, 16 fights, you were considered more or less a novice.
Yes.
Now today, if that person is put into a world championship fight, at 16 fights, effectively, they're in over their head. Now imagine that person then winning that 16th fight and having a world championship.
That's a good
then
point.
You're in effectively the big league.
Yes.
Without having learned your trade.
Yes.
You can't fast track it, and you can't skip. You can't leapfrog.
So
and if you're made to leapfrog, you're going to pay a very heavy price.
Yes, but
the price isn't just being beaten.
Yes.
The price really is letting down the public who have grown to love you because you have been manufactured.
Yes, but wouldn't you say, there's always, life is polarity. There's two sides to every coin. Wouldn't you say, as Alex Ferguson said years ago, when referring to Ryan Giggs and Wayne Rooney, that if you're good enough, you're old enough?
If you're good enough, you're what?
If you're good enough, if you're young enough, if you're good enough, you're old enough. Basically, he was saying that these young men were good enough to compete in the Premiership because they had the natural talent and they had the mental stability. So wouldn't you say that in some cases that may play a part?
You mean perhaps it can translate to boxing as well?
Yes. I mean, it's a competitive
No,
sport.
in Augusta. In Augusta.
I like that. Well, listen,
No,
Mike Tyson was young.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way.
Yes.
It doesn't work that way because in football you have 11 other men to rely on.
That's correct.
In boxing, it's just you one.
Yes.
And when it's you one, it means you have to learn your art. Meaning that if you can't outbox a man, you may have to dig in.
Yes.
And get rough, dirt. You may have to fight the man. I'm not talking about box the man. I'm talking about fight the man.
So would you say that's
so many of these boxers can't fight.
So would you
they
say
can box, but if you force them to fight, they'll fold.
Yes. So do you think fighting was something that you learned or you had naturally as a young man?
No, you have to learn all you
fighting
know.
now. We're not talking about boxing. We're talking about fighting. Fighting, not boxing. We're not talking about the art of boxing. We're talking about being able to fight. Because I grew up with many friends in the same areas that you were grew up in, and these guys would fight, but they didn't know how to box. So if someone could be taught boxing and who already could fight and had the natural ability, wouldn't you? Would that be an option for them to contest a championship very early in their careers?
But why? Why? If you are looking out for the well-being of a fighter, you want him to be holistically trained. So that if he has the ability to fight or get into a dog fight, you want to actually teach him how to protect his heart, because maybe perhaps the fighter has the ability to actually go beyond the call of duty, but you want to protect that heart by teaching him the art of boxing. Do you see? And that cannot be fast-tracked. It takes years to do that.
100%.
For instance, listen to this example of boxing schooling. So, in academic schooling, college is a 4-year course.
Mm-hmm.
Boxing is maybe, let's say, a 3-year course. You can't fast-track that. You can't make up 3 years in 5 months. Do you see?
100%.
You can't fast-track. You can't skip.
So
you have to be built properly.
Definitely. All right, moving on.
Instant gratification or... Say again?
I was really moving on to your career, and I wanted to talk about, you were unbeaten for the first 10 years of your career. And what was the feeling like when you actually suffered your first defeat, and how did that make you feel? And do you feel that was a turning point in your career? Did it, what was your feeling at the time?
My first loss?
Yes. Because, I mean, you had gone on, I think it was 10 years, correct me if I'm wrong, without losing a fight.
Listen, winning and losing is a part of life.
Yes.
Now, it's whether you embrace it. Now, if you should complain about your loss, then you haven't any idea really of gentlemanly conduct, which will see you respected.
Yes, sir.
Nothing wrong with losing. It's how you lose. I mean, I remember I lost the fight against Carl Thompson.
Yes.
And
in one of the greatest,
I've never been given more plaudit. I've never been given more plaudit.
Yes.
Because
the bravery,
losing like a gentleman means, effectively, the guy is a champion.
Yes, sir.
Championship behavior is chivalry. It is decency. It is good conduct. It is good manners. That is what a champion is.
Yes, sir.
So that's, for me, I mean, I would say to you, I mean, possibly it'd be better for me to be in the studio than I could gesticulate and make clearer the fact that I was champion long before I won the belt. It's a behavioral pattern.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Wait. You're giving us the gems, so we've got to give the round of applause.
So Chris, when you say like you was champion before...
Long before.
Yeah, long before. I remember Charlie Magri telling me a story about you. And he said that you were at the gym I can't recall what gym it was, but you were at the gym and he was there in the camp, and so was Jim McDonald.
Hold on. Sorry. Hold on, Spencer.
Yes,
you
sir.
are going in and out of
Come
coverage
closer to your
now.
mouth.
Can you hear me now? Is that better? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Charlie Magri told me a story that once you were in the gym, and this is like when you just came over from America, so you was, 5-0, and
Right.
you ordered a taxi, and the taxi service sent like an old beat up car for you, and you refused to go into the car.
Come on.
And Charlie Magri said, I don't believe it. I mean, it wasn't like who was there. He wasn't nobody. And like Chris said, no, this is not for me. You better send me something decent. And they went back and got you a better car.
Come on.
Was it that kind of
Well,
mindset? Yeah, that's what Charlie said to me. I'm just saying.
I don't actually remember this particular incident, but it
He
sounds like
made it
me.
up, Chris.
It does sound like you. Yeah.
He made it up.
Yeah, no, that's it. Like I said, it does sound like him. No, because it was that thing. Like you in your mindset, you weren't settling for second best in anything that you did, and I could see that right throughout your fights. That you never settled. Just what you brought to the game. I don't know if you like when you was a kid, if you studied like the bad guys in wrestling and said, well, I'm gonna roll with that, but I'm gonna roll. And then you could have studied great men like Jack Johnson or because I could kind of see that in your swag. Your swag was a different kind of swag. It was like the West Indians when they first came over, like in a Windrush in the late 50s. It was, you had this pride. It's very, very difficult for people who don't know to kind of get it. But I always got it. When I used to watch you as a kid, I always got it, especially because it's 29 years this month that you beat Nigel Benn to become world champion. But there was something about you. I remember you was on Saint and Greavesy, and it was talking about your fight with Nigel Benn. And you were saying, look, I've got moves now you haven't even seen yet. And I was like, yeah. Chris Eubank must watch Kung Fu movies. Something. They were just yeah, you're laughing. You know you used to watch them Kung Fu films.
Give us the secrets, Chris. Don't worry. You've had your career. We need the secrets. So tell us, what was the motivation? Come on.
The motivation?
Yes.
Integrity. Integrity was the motivation.
Fantastic.
Okay, so before that, actually, you have been wanting to win the respect of your peers, your family, your brothers, your peers. And so, the drive was that I was impoverished of respect. So you know how that is in the inner city.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I yearned for.
Yes.
Now, for me, I thought, well, the way in which I can win this is by being able to speak so people can understand the way in which I'm trying to communicate my view, one. Two, if I can actually fight and be a gentleman, do it by the rules. Do not cheat.
Yes, sir.
Do not try to cut corners. Remember that your mother's watching.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Come
Whether
on.
she's alive or not, she's watching.
Sorry, Chris, I'm getting excited.
So,
Come on.
so then you're forced to learn your art so that you can present what you've built in your skill set.
Yes.
Because everybody respects a man who can fight. Because the first instinct of a man is to protect. And so it is, if a man can fight, then he's respected. Now, if you can be a gentleman with that, if you can do it fairly and squarely, if you can show style, majesty, and grace, if you can show almost ease under extreme pressure, how wonderful! How wonderful a thing to actually behold. To be able to do something which is so hard that everybody wants to be able to do, everybody thinks that they can do, but
Yes,
actually
sir.
they know that they can't do it.
Yeah.
And if they can do it, can they do it
As well.
while displaying class?
Class. Yes.
Now, that for me was my goal. And when I couldn't do it, meaning that when I was getting it torn out of me, like some of those fights you've seen me in, the idea was always to, if you're taking the beating, take it and continue. This can only win the hearts of the people who are watching.
Yes, sir.
And winning the heart is winning the respect. You see.
So
Fantastic.
what was your inspiration? You know where you motivated. What was your inspiration for you to do the things that you did, sir?
My first inspiration, probably Bob Marley.
Okay.
Come on.
Words of righteousness, words of, whatever the pressure, hold your head high. Then you have influences, the main influence would have been the church. Watching the preachers and the pastors, touch people and people start speaking in tongues and they start dancing and, they start shaking and watching the preachers deliver their sermons and how people would be inspired by all of that, and watching movies like Once Upon a Time in the West with Charles Bronson, movies like The Three Musketeers with Michael York playing D'Artagnan. It's actually taking from everything you see and making it your own. So it's a form of plagiarizing. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with that.
A great
never
man
to
said to me,
actually-
it's never where you take it from, but it's where you take it to.
Yeah, exactly.
You said that to me, Chris,
Chris.
about 5 years ago. But yeah.
There's something I want to ask.
Well, that's very kind of you. I wasn't going to take ownership of that because nothing is mine. But indeed, it may have been me.
Give credit where credit is due. That's what we say here. But I know the reason, or the reason why you have adopted the name Mr. English. But please tell the fans on The Fight Is Right where this name came from.
Well, you see, you can try and explain the word to the audience.
Yes.
You can try and break down and explain to them what the word dread means.
Come on. Wait.
My father.
Wait. You can't use that word without pretending you're in a dance hall. Dread. Come on, Chris.
Okay, so my father was indeed dread.
Yes.
Now, his language, if you go back and you listen to the old tapes of Bob Marley talking, that is my father's era, my father's language. Okay? When the term like guy was obviously an American word, but when the Jamaicans heard it and started using it, it was that era. It was a very cool thing. The way they talk, it was a beautiful thing that obviously no longer exists. The Jamaican would say of that era, make them good on there.
Come on.
Now you have to explain it to our listeners.
So
now.
check the way down is spelled DOWMG. Dome. That's an old yard talk. So my father came from an era which was, skia. That's not. We don't pronounce it ska as the British do. We pronounce it skia. And what I'm called rock steady. Yes, so this is the era my father came from.
Yes.
And I'm looking at my uncles with their trilberries and their three-piece suits. And I'm looking at their swag. How can I not have picked all this up? I'm looking at the pastor making the audience jump, with the word of Christ, the law. You see me? So all of that is what inspired me. And then, obviously, to win the respect of an audience, fighting or boxing because of the great Muhammad Ali and Jack Johnson, Joe Louis, the biggest names on the planet, the time they were reigning, as champions, there's me thinking, well, I can't do that, but you know what? I may be able to. I mean, I didn't even really believe in myself, but you know, I looked at some of these fighters like Nigel Benn at the time and thought, I may not believe in me, but I can beat him.
Interesting.
That's what happens when you learn your craft. You work out. You can see what you can do from what you can't once you've learned your craft. And this cannot be fast tracked. And this, what I'm going to say to you now, may be a little bit controversial, but it's true.
Yes.
I know boxing, and I'm talking about the art. I'm not talking about generating money.
Yes.
I'm only talking about the art, the craft, and the life you have to live to be a fighter of genuine worth. Now, herein lies the fact. Very few people know boxing. Very, very few. They're not teaching boxing, they're teaching fitness. They're teaching jumping jacks, and they're teaching pad work. And they're teaching hill sprints and calisthenics. Sorry. Do that pronunciation for me when the show's over.
Calisthenics.
Thank you. Okay, that's what they're doing. I can't say I know too much about that.
Yes.
But when it comes to
the artistry,
being able to,
well, you know about the artistry of the sport.
The artistry,
yes.
Yeah. Listen to how the art sounds. How do you hurt your man? How do you keep him hurt? How do you keep him uncomfortable? This is what I've learned. How to beat your man. I'm going to tell you a quick story. I was talking to Mike Tyson in 1993, and I asked him, what's the most important aspect of learning how to fight? His answer was as follows. You are going to say that it's running and sparring. Well, let me tell you this, he said. Gus Yamato didn't believe in running. He only believed in sparring. And he was right. I was going to say running and sparring, but I actually agree with him. It is sparring. No trainer makes the champion. The champion, the fighter, makes himself champion. It's usually whether he's using his brains, meaning that he's listening and applying what he's being taught. But he's got to use his own brains. If I would want to get across only one thing to the audience listening, it's not so much the audience, it's the boxing audience, the guys who are actually doing it.
Yes.
You have to use your brains.
Yes.
You have to use your brains. So let me tell you how it happened to me. I had this trainer called Andy Martinez in the South Bronx, 1982, 83. He was a fitness trainer, as most trainers actually are. Fitness trainers. Okay. I saw that I needed the tutelage of a man called Maximo Perret. Maximo Perret trained the professionals, and I so admired how he taught, and effectively pursued him for a year and a half, asking him to teach me. So after a year and a half, he said, well, I'll give you a chance. After 3 weeks, he said, I haven't got time for you. You punch like a girl. And he said, why don't you go and play soccer? And he tells me that I cried when he told me this. And he laughed when he tells me this story. The point is this. When he actually said he wouldn't train me, I was then forced to actually watch how he trained the professionals, in particular Dennis Cruz. So the fact that he wouldn't train me, that forced me to use my brain to watch what he did and then replicate in sparring. That would be the key thing I will say to you.
So basically,
I didn't have so much support.
Yes.
But that particular juncture where he said, "No, I can't work with you," that forced me to use my brains.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, in any field, any vocation, if you use your brains, your own brains, if you look into what you're doing,
Yes.
if you obsess about what you're doing, if you work out the dots for how to connect them, you become better at whatever it is. And for me, that was indeed
Well, I have to touch
boxing.
you on this. I have to touch you on this because what you've done is, so basically you're saying that sparring is what it's about. And that Mike Tyson told you that Customato didn't really believe in running. He believed in sparring. And
Hold on, let me just tell you this.
Yes.
He impersonated Gus Yamato. He said, I used to come back from running,
yes.
and Gus Yamato would say to me, Gus would say to me, "What are you doing, man? What do you want to do? You want to be a sprinter? You want to be a sprinter?"
Yes.
He didn't believe in running. And I get that.
Yes.
Sparring is do what it says on the tin.
Yes.
Box.
Yes. Well, Sugar Ray Robinson.
So, all of
Sugar Ray
these
Robinson ran.
jumping jacks, I didn't learn by doing, I didn't become a good fighter through jumping jacks.
Chris, I have to interject. It's just my opinion. Lennox Lewis ran. Sugar Ray Robinson ran. Sugar Ray Leonard ran.
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali
I ran.
You ran.
I ran.
So and I say this because, Anthony Yarde doesn't like running. Anthony Yarde doesn't like running. He likes, as you say, actuality. But I personally believe that you can't. There's many ways to get to the number 9. 2 + 7, 3 + 6, 1 + 8. There can never be one way. I just can't believe that.
Hold on. Just let's be clear.
Yes.
Mike said to me, "You are going to say
yes,
running and sparring. Gus only believed in sparring.
Yes.
So I'm not saying the fighters don't run. No,
Okay.
run. I believe in running.
Yes, sir.
Gus Yamato didn't believe in running.
Okay.
The point I want to make,
Yes.
or the point I'm making, is that sparring
Yes.
is the number one aspect of learning the art, the craft of boxing. Sparring.
So supposing somebody comes up with another invention, another way, where you can actually assimilate the same actions as in a ring, other than getting hit. Because even if you're sparring, you may spar. You're never gonna be fighting the person you're sparring. So is there ever complete preparation?
Sorry.
I'm just asking the question. I'm asking you
Look
because you're
at
the
dreadlock.
master.
Look at dreadlock. Look at.
You're the master.
Look. You see, this is not the place to be having this conversation.
No.
I am a master.
Yes.
Well under. I am a master. I can't help that. Okay.
Yes, sir. No.
And I'm not negotiating that with you. What I'm on the show doing is doing an interview.
Yes.
But I'm not here. I'm not here to actually debate with
No.
you.
We're not here to debate. I'm just saying that you've said that. I mean, you're putting it out there. You're saying that you're recalling a story that Mike Tyson said to you, and I just wanted to know if that is your personal belief. Do you believe that?
No, I just told you what it is.
Yeah.
My belief is the number one thing is sparring. I'm just making the point that
yes, sir. Yes,
the man who taught and founded Mike Tyson
yes.
as a young man, he didn't believe in running. I believe in running.
That's a great story.
I'm just telling you
That's a great
what
story.
I'm trying to emphasize is simply that sparring is the most important of all things to do with learning how to box.
I agree.
You're out in America now. You're was it Unity Promotions with PBC are working in conjunction?
No. Unity. No. That no longer exists.
Okay,
It
my
never have.
apologies, sir.
Okay.
So move where I'm there.
Sorry,
Okay,
sir.
carry on.
Sorry, sir.
Chris
Okay, sir. Okay,
Chris
sir.
ain't playing no games.
Right. So, but now you are with PBC, and your son's he's in with Matt Koroboff, and he's now dropped back down in weight to
Oh,
box.
is that correct?
Yeah, he's gone down to middleweight again.
Oh,
now,
fantastic.
right? How do you see this fight coming up, and how do you think things are going to plan out for your son boxing out in America?
Let me explain to the listeners, especially the boxers. I've learned the hard way. When you don't listen to your elders, then life will have to teach you what it taught the elder. And I am the elder when it comes to...
Sorry, Chris. Sorry, Chris.
Listen.
You got to I've been telling these youngsters, listen. Anyway, sorry. You know I I've got to give you the round of applause because you're teaching. Sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
So my son is with PBC.
Yes.
Now, we all know who the head of this organization is.
Al Heyman.
Now, so that you know, the brother of the founder of this organization was a fighter. And in his 20s, this man watched what the promoters and managers did to his brother.
Wow.
And effectively, almost he swore an oath to himself that he's going to look after fighters and he's going to make sure that what they did to his brother never happens to any of his fighters. Now, having gone through the very tricky trade that this is, I can see at my age now that this is the man that I want looking after my son.
Yes.
And, you know, they being the others, have tried every which way they could to try and infiltrate and steal my fighter, who is my son. Okay. But, you know, where a parent is concerned, when a parent is emotionally intelligent, when a parent is intelligent, when a parent is also experienced, and when a parent is a parent, meaning that the deoxyribonucleic acid is the same that is in the son's body and genes, he's never going to let anyone take advantage of him.
Absolutely.
So if I'm doing that for my son, then I would ask you, other fighters out there, look at what I'm doing.
Yes.
This is where I say my son is comfortable, where he is in a contract, and in the contract he's working with his promoter. You see, in other contracts, you sign it with them, but they are working against you. You see, and
that,
I'm not having that.
Can you explain that for us, please?
Can I explain it?
Yes, sir.
Contracts are legal documentations that will hold up in a court of law. And they are not written in the best interest of the fighter. This is with other promoters. This is not with PBC. This is not my experience. You know, if I say that I trust this man with my own son, you have to understand, you know, he has to be coming with a much different viewpoint, not just talk and ego, and we're this and we're that, and we are going to do this, and we're the biggest, and I'm not listening to all of that. You know, I've listened to the promises. You know, I've been in the position where I've been misused. So my view today is take heed of someone who is your own kind. I'm not a stranger to you, boxers. I am you. You know, I've gone through, you know, these people don't know what it is to actually be, you know, here's a point of view that, you know, the public don't understand, and certainly the promoters don't understand. Do you know how lonely it is to be a boxer? Do you know how lonely it is to be a champion? You're by yourself. Yes, no one's with you. You are the standard bearer. You are the benchmark. You know, when you do something, it teaches other people to do the same thing.
Yes.
Which is why you have to conduct yourself appropriately at all times.
100%.
So this position that I have, it has to be earned. There's no instantly getting this. You don't get this just because you win. You know, you are tried. In your personal life, you are tried. What do you come back with? Do you project bitterness, anger, or love and understanding?
Yes.
When you're doing love and understanding, then you can be a beacon to the masses. But when you're speaking effectively, me, it's all about me, me, no, it's us, it's we. As, again, the great Muhammad Ali said, we. So I'm looking after us. So anyone who would speak derogatorily or negatively about me,
No way.
they're only doing so because I'm speaking truth
No way.
for the guys who are actually giving the entertainment, the boxers. I'm not speaking against my own, I'm speaking for my own.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is fantastic insight, because I tell you why. My son is second year scholar at Crystal Palace, and I feel the same way, Chris. You know, I'm everybody's on trial because it's my son, and I have to protect him. And even with the fighters, I protect them to the best of my knowledge. And it's not that we won't make mistakes along the way, but as you say, it's how you project it. You know, are you going to be bitter? You know, or are you going to learn from the experience and gain experience and not make the same mistake? But so I personally, Tunde Ajayi, commend everything you have done and are doing for your son. I mean, I think it must have been the first week or so we was in a, you know, people asked about the Chris Eubank Jr. I said, "Bro, he'll beat Golovkin." So I don't know if you heard that show, but I've always been a supporter of you. The way you've done things, it takes a man to stand out and be different from the crowd, and I feel that you've done that superbly.
Let me depart on this note here,
Yes.
which is again about standard bearing. Who takes notice? What happens to a fighter when he retires? Everybody forgets about them,
Yes.
and
Apart from me.
this is tragic.
Yes.
This is tragic beyond tragic, and let me explain to you why. One of my family members who was a boxer at 57 now has been diagnosed with dementia. So he can't remember what he said 5 seconds ago. What happens to somebody like that, which is all of us? We are all going to suffer the consequences of our love, which is boxing. Getting hit, there is a consequence to it. Okay, and so we follow that by saying, well, if you put your foot into water, most certainly it's going to get wet. If it's scalding hot water, then it's going to get wet and scalded. So we have a price to pay. Now, this is the point. What happens to those retired boxers? We have to look after them. We have to find them and help them. We have to get it out there because our compatriots are in trouble, you know. And for what we give to the public, this entertainment is costing us, and there is a lot of us out there who are suffering in silence. So we have to find these people. This is the note I wanted to leave on.
Yes.
Sure, I could make you laugh. But it may be more indelible if I leave on that note. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure speaking to you all. Ladies and gentlemen.
Livingstone.
Christopher
Livingstone. Eubank.
It has
It's
been
been
an
a plum
honor.
pleasing pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
Keep on doing what you're
I
doing.
will.
Simply the best. Thank you
All right.
very much for coming on the show, sir.
Thank you, Chris.
And our next guy we're gonna go grab on the line. Remember, in Jamaica, there's an old saying. We say that someone is surpassed their age.
Their age, yes.
We say him young but him old. And this is this guy here. You know what I mean?
Who you talking about,
Ben
man?
Davison, man. Come on.
Ben
is the guy.
Davison,
He's the guy, man.
a living young legend.
Trust me on that.
That's what I call him.
Trust me on that.
Let's not delay. Let's get Ben Davison on the phone. Let me introduce to the listening fans
You press
on The
record?
Fight Is Right, the one, the only, the irrepressible, irreplaceable, the man known as the man credited with the person who rebooted Tyson Fury's career, the one, the only, Ben Davison.
Oh, that
Come on now, Ben.
That was
Come on,
that
feel
was
the energy.
that was some introduction. You must be after Michael Buffer's job there, Tunde.
I'm telling you, it's coming. Go ahead, Ben Spence.
Yeah, Ben, like I'm saying, you were there on the weekend for Deontay Wilder, Luis Ortiz.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind? Forget about the knockout. From round 1 to round 6, watching the display put on by this old pensioner.
Your granddad.
What was
Hold on, wait there. I heard he didn't win a round.
He didn't. He didn't.
Wow.
In my eyes, he didn't. I don't think he did. I think official scorecards didn't have him up. He didn't win a round. But
Wow.
he's got that, like I said, people say that he's a one-trick pony, but what he does with that trick is magical. I mean, that is some Paul Daniels kind of magic that he's doing. What was going through your mind, Ben? What was going through your mind?
Do you know what? A lot of people slate Wilder's boxing ability, and although he's probably not the prettiest or the most coordinated, he's actually smarter than what people give him credit for. And
Absolutely.
we all knew that Ortiz would be very reactive for the first 4, 5, 6 rounds. I've said that all the way in every interview that anybody asked me. And I think that Wilder, he purposely kept a low punch count to not take any risks early on. And he knew that, Ortiz's real age was going to show at some point. And the most shocking thing was, we all know that Wilder carries power, but Ortiz is someone that's never been rocked, never been dropped, never been wobbled, barring the fight with Wilder previously. And I think Wilder landed one shot on his chin, one clean shot, and that was all it took.
That's all.
Yeah, but prior to the fight, prior to the knockout,
Was it
going through your head like, right, we could be seeing an upset here?
No. Somebody had texted me saying that's 3-0, that's 4-0, and I genuinely text back saying, yeah, but can he maintain it? I knew it was a moment of time. I knew exactly what Wilder was doing. He was waiting for that moment. I could see it round by round. He was getting a little bit closer. Ortiz was just a little bit less reactive, a little bit less, legs were a little bit less engaged, and it was a matter of time before that right hand came through, in my opinion.
What improvements do you see in Wilder? Because
I think that he showed more trust and more confidence in his trick. I think that he was very, very patient, and he's got the confidence of his power at that level now.
Because what I noticed with Wilder is like, I think since the dominant Brazil knockout, I think even before then, he believed in his punch power. I think, I could just turn up, I could just knock guys out. And I do also agree with you because his first Bermain Stavern fight, he actually boxed in that fight. I thought he was very, very impressive in that fight.
Yeah, he was very impressive.
But I think it's also the fact of his need to ingratiate himself to the fans, and he does want that knockout so much that everything gets thrown out the window, and he does do these mad windmill punches and throw shots when he's off balance and stuff like that. But I can't see how you can't learn. He's got Mark Breland, Mark Breland being a former World Games gold medalist in 1982, Olympic gold medalist in 1984. I don't see how you can't learn by being around these guys, but I think he just wants to knock guys out that much that he doesn't care.
Yeah, 100%. I also do think that his other trainer, Mark Breland's obviously a fantastic trainer, was a fantastic fighter, and I also think that his other trainer, Jay Diaz, is a very, very good trainer. And I think they're very smart.
Trainer. Yeah.
Very underrated. And I think that, the Wilder's best asset is obviously that right hand, but he does set it up, which people don't give him credit for. And the way he most often sets it up, people will say it's off the jab and it's this and it's that, and it is. But he will lull you into a false sense of security before nailing you with it.
Right. We've just seen statistics out, and it's stating that Deontay Wilder is the hardest punching heavyweight champion of all time, going by statistics.
How did they work that?
Because they're going by how many guys he's knocked out of fights that he's had. He's like 42-0 now,
Okay.
and he's knocked out 40 opponents.
Incredible.
This is nuts, right?
Incredible.
So if you look at, like, you've been in there with him, right? And I know you've seen the flaws and everything else. I don't think you're going to overly divulge in that, right? Because you're preparing for this rematch. But with that punching power, like Deontay Wilder saying, you know, so guys could outbox me, but they got to do that for 36 minutes. And all I got to do is just land one shot in 1 second and it's lights out. Is that, as you as a trainer, how do you prepare for someone who is an hellacious puncher?
I think that the best attribute that we can have going against him is being realistic, knowing, you know, some people will have to try and convince themselves of false confidence to say it's not that powerful, you know, who's knocked out and this, that, and the other. The best attribute you can have is to be real with yourself and say,
Come on, bruv.
What? I have to take this away. I have to take this away from him.
Yes. Well, listen, I want to move away from Fury. No disrespect. I want to move away from Wilder. I want to move away from AJ and the rest of the heavyweights. And I want to talk about the young man they call Ben Davison. You set yourself a target of being the youngest trainer of a world champion or of world champions. A feat which is incredible, and a goal which you set yourself to do by the age of 25. It's incredible, Ben. You know, and your knowledge, the way you speak,
how you articulate fights
and break down fights, far belies what your actual age is. And I just like to know, you know, give me a secret, sunshine. but you know what, you know, where did this love, this passion, this motivation come from? Because I want to know about Ben Davison, because I think, you know, being in a position I'm in the same position as a trainer. I often, you know, we're not going to go by Eubank's quote of it's all a fighter. No, I don't agree with that, because a few years ago, when you first met Tyson, correct me if I'm mistaken, you know, in Marbella. Is it Marbella? You know, you was only 23 years old, and in the space of 3 years, you're at the top of the mountain. And that takes a lot of doing. And I just want you to touch into a little bit about your love of the sport, your passion, how you study it, and how you managed to, you know, help Tyson get back to where I guess he always thought he should be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that most people's story of how they got into boxing is all similar, you know. I mean, going to the gym at a young age, my father took me to the gym at a young age, and getting into boxing and all the rest of it. And a lot of it is down to people's personality. You know, if you have that hunger, no matter what you do, and the motivation that you want to be the best at what you do, and be the best at what you can be, you know, I think you'll do well in no matter what you do. And no matter what it is that I do, I'm very analytical. I look at I used to watch football games and watch one player for the whole game, and then go back and watch another player for the whole game, to see what they did in certain positions, certain scenarios. And it's the same thing in boxing. I feel like if my boxer goes against an opponent, I feel like I've watched them that much. I know what they're going to do before they know they're going to do it. Brilliant. And that's just the way I was. But I spent a lot of time obviously working with Billy Joe underneath Jimmy Tibbs. Yes. And it takes a certain level of intelligence to be able to pick up information and gain that, soak that knowledge up. And I was lucky enough to, you know, people talk about experience, but it's not the amount of experience, it's the quality of the experience.
Good point.
Come on.
Journeyman with 200 fights don't often beat prospects.
Oh no! Stop! Go ahead. You got your round of applause. Go ahead.
Journeyman with 200 fights don't often beat prospects with 6 fights, because the prospect with 6 fights has usually had better coaching, better pedigree, and better experience.
Yes.
And I mean, look at yourself with Anthony. Anthony had 12 amateur fights, and because he's had fantastic coaching, he's had great experience. Look at what he's been able to achieve in a short space of time. Incredible. And you know, I was lucky enough to have that with Jimmy Tibbs and gain a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge and quality experience at a young age, which then put me into the right path to be able to do what I've done with Tyson, know when to push a fighter, when not to push a fighter, how to organise a training camp, how to there's so many factors, as you guys know, to being able to get a fighter to peak, for the right tactics, for even the right fight at the right time. Because no matter how good somebody is, I remember Billy Joe was always in a race with Frankie Gavin and James DeGale when they all turned over. But Jimmy, they're at this stage, they're at this stage, they're at this stage. And Jimmy said to him, listen, son, you take your time. You need to go through all the stages. Don't skip any steps. And they'll get beat along the way and you'll go on to do more. And he was right.
Come on. I like that.
Jimmy
I like
Tibbs.
That. I like that. You educated us on the fight is right, man. I'm telling you. And I listen, there's so much that can be said about yourselves. I mean, your credit to yourself, your family. One thing I wanted to ask, I know I did read that, there was a point you was actually staying in Tyson's spare room when you first met him, and I guess that's deep because, you've obviously built up this fantastic relationship with one another, and it's almost as though the two of you read off the same hymn sheet. Tell us a little bit about your personal relationship with Tyson.
Yeah, well, when I first met him, obviously everybody knows that he's very overweight, he's very out of shape, and even more so, he's in a very bad place mentally. And we actually got along. And at the beginning point, I thought to myself, if I can just get this man back happy again, then I'd be happy with the job that I've done because he deserves to be happy.
Sorry, that's me getting excited. He getting the jumps. Sorry.
And he needed my first goal was to make him fall back in love with the sport, because if he was being active, he was burning calories. If he's burning calories, he's going to lose his weight, and that was the first step along to getting him back in the right place. And there's sacrifices all around, like you said, Tunde. I am one of those that says about the fighter, but everybody has to make sacrifices. And I had to make a sacrifice. No man wants to live under another man's roof. There's a sacrifice that I had to make to help him get back to where he is now, and to see where he is now is a fantastic thing for me to be able to see. But there's been lots of people that have played a part as well, in terms of the rest of the team and his family. Lots of people have played a part in getting him to where he is now.
And tell us about this book. I'm hearing that you're launching books and stuff. What's going on? Bro, you're moving up. You ain't waiting for no one. Listen, wait there. Dream it, believe it, become it. That's what Ben Davison is. Dream it, believe it, become it.
100%.
Come on. Tell us about this book. I'm interested.
Yeah, well, when I first met Tyson, he'd actually already started the book, and obviously I was hearing him go through his life story through different parts of our training camp, and it was interesting to see. So to see that now, especially at perfect timing, with where he is in his career, and the WWE stuff, and all the mental health things that he's done, and the role that he's played, and the ambassador that he is. That book will, although it's a great reading for people to read it, it'll be a great motivation for people to read and to see the mindset of somebody that's gone through that and how they can relate to it, and it'll help put them on the right path to do the same.
Yes, sir. What about your book?
Maybe one day, but
we need that book. We need the secrets, man. Just let them off. Stop trying to be a poker player. I need to study the Ben Davison.
When he gets past 30.
It's actually my 27th birthday on Friday.
Wow.
You know what? Well, I gotta say happy birthday for you for then, man. What's it on Friday? What's the date on Friday? The 29th. Wow.
Serious.
That is serious.
That's the same day as Riddy and Bowes.
Yeah. That's a big fight that's coming up on the weekend
Quicksilver
as well.
Bowes against
Philip Bowes versus
Hakeem.
That's a great fight. Hakeem
Innis Brown. You got seriously. Who you got for that fight?
Oh, do you know what? I think it's a really good fight. I think whoever gets their game plan and tactics right on the night and has the better concentration levels will win that fight.
You know what? We had them both on the show last week, and it kicked off, man. It was really, really good.
It was
seriously. I'm gonna send you the show after we get off from this interview. I'm gonna send you the show. It was a really, really good. It was hyped.
Well, Ben, I'm gonna say it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and again, you continue to be my motivation. It's so mad because the first fight in LA. I remember, Tyson was training upstairs, Ben was with him and stuff. and then everybody, Tyson finished and everything. I was training. No, I don't know. Anthony was training. Anthony and Tyson was training at the same time. I remember because we came in and Tyson was on the running machine and me and Anthony done our stuff. But then when both the fighters went back to their room, 10 minutes later or so, boom, I went upstairs. Who comes through the door? Ben Davison. And so, bro, I said, trainers got a train. Yeah. So Ben knows what's going on. And that was a good meeting. First time I met you, and spoke to you face to face. And right from then, you got a friend for a long time, mate, in me. And I love watching your journey and continue doing what you're doing. We're just starting in this game, and we're going to be here for a long time. So any support 100%. I can offer, listen, I'm there. And I'll always ask you questions because I ain't afraid to learn from anyone.
Yeah, and vice versa.
And trust me, Ben, just keep on doing what you're doing. Yeah, I mean, you got supporting me. You're my guy, man. Because me and Ben, we talk a lot. And yes, you know what? I'm a supporter in everything. I like to support people. I like to encourage people. I don't care. You know what I mean? So anyone going after their dreams and aspirations, I'm right behind them. And you're going out, you're doing that. And I think it's fantastic what you've done with Tyson Fury.
Incredible.
Right? But not only that, I remember a few years ago when Tyson Fury wasn't the most loved person in the sport. And I was I hated that. And like to see how he's changed that whole thing and knowing that you have been like a part of the mechanism or the tricks and the mechanics to have been there for Tyson Fury, I think that's excellent. You should be commended. Tyson Fury should be commended. I'm so looking forward to him and Deontay Wilder because I think Tyson Fury is a technical genius. Period. No man his size ain't moving like how he moves and throwing off the shots like how he throws off. And one thing I noticed about with Tyson Fury, when Tyson Fury is motivated, he's the baddest heavyweight in the whole world.
Yes, sir.
Period. 100%. 100%.
All right, Ben, peace and love. It's been a plum pleasing pleasure to have you up on the show on The Fight Is Right. Ben Davison.
Ben Davison.
Fabulous show today. This is
what?
Eubanks
was deep though.
Bruv.
I thought I was gonna.
He brought the shovel out today.
He brought the encyclopedia out. My head was hurting me. My head was hurting me, bruv. He was going in. I was like, calm down, Chris, mate. But the man is a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, man.
A wealth of experience, and I guess he just wants the best for his son. He's leading the way. He's unique.
Yeah,
he's unique.
That's what you could put. Yes, he's that. But yeah, and I mean Ben Davison got big him up. I'm gonna say thanks for coming on the show.
Incredible.
I mean Coogan's my guy. You know what I mean, me been powerful for a long time. So you know what I mean, big up Coogan as well.
I just love the fact that Coogan is sharing what he's got now, empowering young people and giving them a wage.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
Come on, man. You know what I mean? And that's what I like, man. You know what I mean? What is it? Happiness is not complete unless you share it.
I love that. Cool. I love that. Hold on. I'm giving you one of these.
I thank you, sir. I thank you so much. Listen, man. Join us for next week's show. It's going to be the breakdown for Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz.
I'm telling you,
this is going to be a fantastic fight. But
KO 4 rounds. They don't want to hear nothing.
Right, okay.
No nonsense.
You know what I mean? And I'm so looking forward to this fight.
Who's going to win,
like
Spence?
I said, no, I'm going AJ. But I'm going AJ points. I don't think AJ
Rubbish.
KO. I'm going AJ. You shut up.
Fufu, Eba, and Egusi in the left hook. Remember this. Remember Tunde Ajayi saying it. The left hook of AJ is going to play a big part. It's going to be actually a right uppercut left hook. I told Boxing News that today.
Okay.
A right uppercut left hook.
Well, I'm looking forward to the fight.
It's going to be a great fight. Oh, we still got one more week though, isn't it? 10 it's next Saturday.
Next Saturday.
Wow, man, this is exciting.
Yeah, trust me, it is.
The whole of UK get behind Anthony Joshua. That's all I'm saying. If you're from the UK and you ain't behind AJ, rubbish. Cancel.
There's something wrong with you.
Cancel.
Instant block.
Yeah, we have to block them. But yeah, again, a great show, Spence. Please like, comment, subscribe. That's what we need.
Yeah, 100%, man. I want followers like
Jesus.
No. Yeah, for real.
Trust me.
No, that's how you want. You want them kind of followers. I'm
Trust me.
telling you.
So it's been wonderful. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for everyone for listening, watching on The Fight Is Right.
Come on down.
Remember to like, comment and subscribe to the Stamina for Sale YouTube channel.